And there we go again. Another mass shooting in the US, in mainland USA. This time in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Um, we might think that this was, it could have been just another Friday night at a rural community, in a rural community, rural town. Well, New Mexico has many. Most of New Mexico State is rural, with exception, of course, Santa Fe, Albuquerque. Las Cruces is not like a huge town. It's a medium-sized town, but very much a rural community. Um, what could have been just another gathering of young people gathering, to have fun, basically, on a Friday night. It's a part of the American tradition to gather on Friday night. It could be, a soccer game, Friday night, soccer games, or football game, Friday nights, high school football games, in which it's a tradition for the American family to gather at a local stadium, at a high school stadium. And well, this just happened. What this tragedy in which three people already were pronounced dead in this mass shooting, um, in Las Cruces, New Mexico, the state of New Mexico. And what could what how this everything came about is that, well, there are a few issues here. 3 points that I'm going to mention, in which three issues that has been on the debate in the public square during the last 10-15 years, I would say. And it's been debated about the Second Amendment, of course. It's been debated about, the right to bear arms, which is very much one of the Second Amendment is one of the amendments of 26th Amendment of the Constitution, in which politicians of different stripes and different, from different part of the country, from different part of the union, they have been debating about what to do. Do you think there should be an amendment to the amendment of the Constitution? That's a, sensitive, issue in the U.S. that has divided the American family in what to do. But the fact is that gun violence has been, spreading like a wildfire in the U.S. School violence, I mean, school mass shooting has been on the rise. Um, and most likely, if nothing gets done, really, nothing gets done, because the trend is that do nothing, talk about a lot, debate a lot. It's been, in the, like I said, now with social media, uh, on the rise of, most people are using, at least 78% of the US population, most Western countries and Latin America, Asia. Social media is one of the main sources of information. So this debate is going to go on for, not just for the moment, because this tragedy happened, in which three people are already dead, and most likely the 15 more people who are really badly injured. And most of these victims of this horrific tragedy, young people, they say, when they did this, the, the rescuers came, the ambulance came to to treat these people. The range of the victims are from 16 to 36 years old. One of the dead is only 16 years old, a teenager, almost full of life, ahead of him. Uh, the other one is 18 years old and 19 years old. Children, I mean, teenagers, just in the prime of their lives, starting to live life, and never thought, never, those poor family. I mean, those, my heart goes to them. With all To all the victims, really. And but mass shooting is not the first time, and with everything going like this, it's not gonna be the last time. And don't get me wrong, but tomorrow's mainstream talk shows, Sunday morning talk show is gonna be full of uh, opinions and debate again and again and again. Just what it happens every time a mass shooting, goes on. Every time a mass shooting takes place, the blame game starts. Politicians and pundits, experts from different tribes, academics, people from the academia, gun experts, experts, constitutional experts. They're all gonna get their opinion. There's gonna be a debate on the on the news media about who's to blame again. It happens all over again. Who's to blame? I mean, the blame game is gonna start again over and over again about what should we have done years ago, what could we be doing at this moment, and what will is going to be done in the near future immediately after everything after everything quiets down again, after this all these victims they had to, of course, bury the victims and care for the injured. I mean, try to do the best, so it doesn't we don't lose more lives, those people injured in the hospitals. And like Las Cruces, like I said before, New Mexico again. I mean, I'm not saying only the state of New Mexico happened. In fact, half of the more than half of these mass shootings, it happens. Almost 80% of the mass shootings in the U.S. it happens in one half of the country. When I say one half of the country, I mean going from uh, Texas to all the way to Texas going east. Most of the shooting takes place in this like a southeast, going all the way from Texas to all the way to Georgia, and going north also, north and southeast. Most of the mass shooting happens there, and guess what? Most of the population lives in that area, in one half of the country. Almost 70% of the population lives in one half of the country. I'm talking about. Um, well, the Second Amendment right allows and gives the right to any individual, any U.S. citizens, to bear arms, as many weapons as you can. I mean, legally. I mean, with license, of course, people needs to have license to purchase a weapon. Um, what the report say is, well, the more the population, the more weapons are there. The more people buy weapons. The less the population, there could be less weapons in that area of the population. That's the reason I'm saying that in half of the population, where 70 in half of the geographical land of the mainland USA lives almost 70% of the population. So there are more weapons wherever more people are. That's for sure. Whether they are big cities or small or medium in the rural area too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we think that people just use weapons for hunting in the rural area. In big cities, there's lots of people with cache of arms. I mean, because it's legal. It's legal. There is the Constitution allows that, the Second Amendment. So it's very much in the part of also the American culture. I mean, it's a tradition. It's over 200 years of tradition with the Constitution to bear arms, and to people have, and of course it's their right. It's the right of the American citizen to have armed to protect their property, to protect their family. But the debate is about having limits. So how much weapons do you need to protect your family, to protect your household? How many weapons really do you need? Do you need really 20, 25 weapons to protect your family? If you have a family of 4 or 5 in your household, or if you just use those weapons for hunting, do you really need a dozen weapons or 20 weapons of different, of different shape and forms and different caliber? I mean, it's just crazy. But well, that's in the law, is in the Constitution, to bear arms, right? One of the amendments. So can we talk about here to make an amendment to the amendment? That will take a 2/3 of the Congress. Can you really get those votes? 2/3. If you have the senators, you need at least 77 senators to sign up for this, right? To pass the Senate. And the U.S. representatives, you need 2/3, which is going to be, with Congress so divided, almost in half. I mean, at this moment, the U.S. Congress, it's going to be hard to get those, and there are so many lobbying, firms, lobbying, offices in Washington D.C. that from people with different interests and different things in mind. So this whole tragedy, sadly, most likely is going to, it's going to happen again. I mean, there are so many weapons in the U.S. The U.S. population is 340 million people almost now. And if everybody has, I mean, let's say only 200 million people has weapons from these 340 million. But if from those 200 million people, if everybody has 10 to 15 weapons, this is, an average, that's I would say a couple of billions of weapons. I mean, there are more weapons in the USA, mainland USA, in civilian hands than most likely. I'm not saying accurately, perhaps, but most likely than more than in Syria, Iraq, and Somalia combined. And those are war-torn countries where civil war is, it's been happening for decades in these countries. And Iraq, Syria, Somalia, all these places that, it's almost lawless places, lawless countries, almost failed states. That's what they call failed states. But the U.S. is not a failed state. It's a law, there are three main branches of government that still works. I mean, the law, I mean, still works. But the debate about the right to bear arms is a very delicate, sensitive debate in the American society. That and this was just a car show where youngsters, I mean, not just youngsters, even adults in any age. This is an antique car show. It's a tradition from the 1940s when these beautiful cars in the 1950s. There are so many movies showing that have been showing antique cars that from the 1950s from American car companies, and these are even renewed cars from those antique cars that people wanna, especially like I said, teenagers to the young adults like 30 and even people in their 40s or 50s and even any age, adults of any age. Car shows are all over these days. It's a nice friendly gathering. Typically, usually it's a nice friendly gathering. But the idea that in the middle of the night, I mean, this was late night at 11 o'clock, with no police presence, and what the report is the report of the Las Cruces Police Department, and stating the initial report is that they didn't have enough manpower. I mean, apparently there was no police or presence in this event, which was of course, this was with no permission. It was a non-sanctioned event. People, these people are on 200. The account is, there is no exact number of how many people were there, but this stampede of people running away and trying to save their lives, trying to running for their lives. The initial videos are amazing. People are, this is like a hunting season. I mean, people who just, took up their arms wherever they had it, And so many people, this was a car show. This was not a weapons exhibition or, of kind of a hunting season, hunters gathering for the hunting season to begin. This is just a car show, that people were showing the best they have, right? In their, it's part of the young American tradition to show their cars, to gather together. This happens all over the States. I mean, that, the group of friends gather in a particular place. But there's how I remember, in Nassau County, Suffolk County, all this, or Virginia. This is New York, Virginia, Florida, anywhere, people gather and show their cars. I mean, but at 11 o'clock at night, late in the night, and if there was, if there was no supervision, no, the law enforcement officer present at the moment, at the time that this happened, or previously, or there was no official permission from the city for this gathering. I mean, that kind of, if there were more than 200 people, doing, some activities, they could have been at least, or park rangers, trying to at least be present to just in the initial moment of this, what they reported saying that they didn't have on the manpower. It comes to money again. Money, money, money again. I mean, remember that New Mexico state is one of the third poorest state in the union, after for Mississippi and other state, Arkansas, I think it is the other one, but one of the poorest state in the union. And a budget. I mean, if they didn't have enough budget to have enough police officers to assign some police officers there, maybe perhaps the priority was not there. The priority wasn't to have 20 police officers present. At least you have 200 people gathering in a place. At least one police officer for every 20 people. It's fair to say that. And I have seen other car shows myself in which a gathering of 50 or 60 people, there are like 10 police officers. It's almost the ratio is like 1 to 5. Every 5 civilians, gathering in a place, there are like a 1 to 5, one police officer for every 5 people, just to guard, just to be present there in the area, just in case it's needed. But in the middle of the night, where if this was related to alcohol, with somebody got mad or upset, or did some discussion, some debate took place, something insignificant, maybe something could be sometimes it's nothing, almost for nothing. People are debating for nothing, not even politics. I mean, politics can get heated, but this was perhaps an altercation that came out for almost nothing. But from almost nothing, somebody got head heated enough to grab his weapon. I'm not saying it's a male or female. All I'm saying that somebody started with it, and another one just responded, and suddenly there were multiple firearms. People fighting like a battlefield, like a civil war, like like in Somalia, like in Damascus. I mean, this is like a house to house fight, a firefight just started like in Wild West. So the whole event is just crazy. It's amazing. So the issue here is about manpower of the police department not to have present. I'm not saying they were negligent. All I'm saying is that the chief police is declaring that they didn't have they have enough manpower in the area there. I mean, when the police responded, and when they arrived at the scene, they couldn't, no suspect, and they didn't detain anyone yet. 24 hours later, they have nothing, handcuffs, nothing in jail for this event. And there were multiple firearms. According to witnesses, multiple firearms multiple weapons were used to this. I mean, even AR-15. I think there was a video footage somewhere with the AR-15, which is almost like a combat weapon, a battlefield weapon. AR-15 is like a 30, casings for each magazine. It could be like a repeated shooting, but more than when the question came that how many casings very much were there on the crime scene, the response was, the answer was more than 150. Think about more than 150 casings. That's what they have found so far, but perhaps there's more. So it's a sad situation. It's a deadly situation, and well, the issue is still there. The issue is going to continue in the public square debate in the American public, and hopefully, there is going to be a solution in which if there is a little more restrictions to. Nobody's saying here that we are in favor or not to touch the U.S. Constitution. Most people are in favor at this moment. Most people that's some restrictions from those heavy firearms, that some at least limited restrictions, and the licensing process, that the background checks and things like that. I think some states are really working on that. Some has passed, they have approved some laws that are working on that, but it wasn't enough to prevent this kind of tragic situation that New Mexico is mourning these laws of life, and the whole country. And I'm sure you're gonna hear from more from this, but the debate is still going. It's gonna continue the next day and the following weeks. But my heart is with all these families. I mean, with the American society also to have in good terms, um, discuss, debate this issue and whatever is the best for the country, and the rest of the world watching. They are not, the U.S. is not the only country with laws with restrictive, laws in that sense, or more, uh, liberal laws. I would say that that people can really use, their rights. In this case, the Second Amendment rights to bear arms. So we leave you that with this video. Hopefully you like it. The debate is there. The issue is there. So what's your opinion about what's going on with the Second Amendment? Drop me a comment if you wish, please, and we'll continue the debate. Thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully you have a safe night and safe weekend. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and give us a thumbs like. It goes good for algorithm for this channel. And have a nice evening. Take care, and may God bless you all. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care.